Yo, what's up guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. 2022 Write Rimuru X Data Live by Yazoo_U Chapter 1. Problem after Problem. Walpurgis, a gathering of the most powerful demon lords, convened to welcome a new member and to resolve the ongoing conflict between Demon Lord Clayman and Demon Lord Rimuru. The confrontation between the two had escalated into a one-sided and fiercely fought battle. In the end, the battle concluded with Clayman desperately pleading for salvation to save him from impending death. Thus, the short-standing conflict between the two demon lords was finally brought to a close. Suddenly, a powerful surge of magical energy swept across the entire world, freezing everything in time except for a few figures from various parts of the continent and the world. The primordials, who had not fully unleashed their power in centuries, now had their guard fully raised. The true dragons and Milam Nava, the child of the gods, tensed up, as did Ramirez and Dino. Guy Crimson merely stared at the source of the massive power. "It's loosening," Guy said with an indifferent expression. "You've got to be kidding me," Veldora muttered, feeling a fear he had never experienced, not even from his sister. Dino and Guy flew towards Veldonava's castle. The rest remained in their current positions, guarding those affected by the time distortion. As they neared the castle, Guy and Dino could feel the chaotic magical particles in the air, constantly recreating and decomposing themselves. A figure stood above them, sadness evident on his face. "Feldway," Guy muttered. Feldway looked at Guy and Dino, his expression emotionless. He then moved his hand, partially restoring the seal. Guy and Dino could sense that Feldway's actions were motivated by good intentions, but they could also feel an overwhelming hatred and sadness within him. "You may ask why I am doing this. Despite my hatred for this world, I still hold a small hope for his return. But that hope is slowly fading. I warn you, soon I will be the greatest catastrophe you will face," Feldway said before disappearing. As the seal was partially restored, the magical particles in the air began to stabilize. Guy and Dino were left confused, unsure of Feldway's plans. "What is that bastard planning?" Guy Crimson muttered, deep in thought. "Hey, we should head back," Dino said, snapping Guy out of his reverie. Guy then telepathically informed a select few about what had happened, warning Veldora, Milam, and Ramirez not to involve Rimuru, as he was not yet ready. Milam and Ramirez agreed, but just then, another powerful pulse shook Walpurgis, affecting some of the participants, including Rimuru Tempest, whose body slowly began to crumble, despite being suspended in time. "Rimuru!" Veldora and Milam screamed in horror. Luminous and Leon only had their magicules corrupted for a brief moment before Guy Crimson quickly tended to their care and restored them to full health. Their conditions were not as severe as Rimuru's. However, Rimuru's slime body was much more vulnerable to the corrupted magicules seeping in, causing significantly more harm to his physical form. The corrupted magicules were able to permeate deep into Rimuru's very being, threatening to completely unravel his entire slime body. Milam Nava, Rimuru's close friend and ally, was visibly distraught and on the verge of tears, saddened and distressed to witness her dear friend on the brink of death right before her eyes. She felt powerless to intervene or help in any meaningful way. Even the mighty Guy Crimson, one of the demon lords, grimly acknowledged the grave situation, muttering, "TCH. This is bad." He too seemed at a loss for how to effectively counter the corrupted magicules ravaging Rimuru's body. The tension in the air was palpable as the group confronted this unexpected and dangerous development, unsure of how they would be able to save Rimuru from the corrupted magicules' relentless onslaught. Just then the voice of the world spoke. Less than anomaly detected. Gods will restoration commencing. Subject Ivaraj will now be put in a long slumber. Greater than. Less than warning. Anomaly persist. Greater than. Nobody knows what was happening, but the voice of the world was slowly being overwhelmed. The rest of the angel came over. Zelario played with the stability and the others cast restoration. Feldway watched, still lamenting and regretful. Less than. Subject Ivaraj will now be put in slumber. Greater than. Error voiced out, that caused the rest on Walpurgis to be worried, but in the end, the voice of the world succeeded. Just then all the negative magicule particles slowly were going in one direction towards Veldonava's castle, Suddenly all of it was encased in multi-layer universal barriers, preventing a single leakage. But a small quantity of it manages to drift away past the reach of the voice of the world. But despite the ability to pull all loosed infected magicule, even the voice of the world didn't have the ability to save those who were already badly affected by it, just like how Rimuru's current state. And to solve this case, multiple calculations were generated, and within an infinite amount of calculation, only 8 were devised for a sure save. After a moment of grief as Rimuru's whole being almost disintegrated, multiple parallel existences of Rimuru were created. Perfect memories were placed into every single parallel existence to keep the disintegration at bay as they followed Rimuru's corrupted magicules, meaning the parallel existences would trace the corruption away from the original Rimuru. However, everything eventually crumbled. The voice of the world was doing everything in its power to keep the original Rimuru alive. And so, a thread of life was instead created. Like an insignia that slowly burns away, the voice of the world was able to prolong Rimuru's life as it thought of a different way to fully restore him. One of the parallel existences survived, however its soul was damaged, causing some of the original skills and memories to be erased. The clinging corruption had stopped, and it made the surviving parallel existence a living concept instead, which was not immediately seen by the voice of the world. 2 versions of Rimuru could not coexist in the same universe, so the voice of the world decided it could just simply erase the second Rimuru. But decided not to. Instead, the voice of the world cast the second Rimuru into an alternate universe, implanting a specific mission in his mind. Though the choice still lay with Rimuru, he could choose to either abandon the mission or carry it out as he saw fit. After reviewing Rimuru's memories, the voice of the world concluded that Rimuru would likely complete the mission, with or without something in exchange, in order to try to save his friends, even if it would not bring him back. The voice of the world also provided the parallel Rimuru with an explanation from its own mind, keeping him notified of any recent events. Soon after, the connection was severed, and all the voice of the world could do was gift the parallel Rimuru a few helpful skills in exchange for the corrupted skills, and then bid him farewell. As the transfer was underway, a second party disrupted the process, causing Rimuru to be teleported to a different universe plane. There, a beautiful woman dressed in white was floating. She was known by the name Mio Takamiya. A perfect vessel, she said, looking at the unconscious Rimuru. She could feel this person. A body purely made of mana, a magical body. Or a manifestation of mana in the shape of a human, much like her daughter Toka. The only difference was that she did not will or create this one, and this is also not a Saphira crystal that had a born ego of its own. She could feel Rimuru's deep connection to the roots of the world and mana. So she thought Rimuru was born naturally with her power, due to her unstable mentality from the loss of a certain someone. Because this was a freshly born parallel existence, just by getting a read on his mana, Mio Takamiya concluded Rimuru to be less than a day old. Letting her guard down, not even trying to see through his memories, as she thought she would only see a blank space of emptiness. She sank her finger into Rimuru's chest, which easily punctured his interior. It was like touching a slime toy or jelly. So you have an incomplete physical body, she smiled in delight. Then I shall gift you a complete body. Rimuru's clothes shredded and reverted into mana, since the materials used to create them were mana-based. Just a simple weaving of its form could change its shape and turn it into a simpler form. The creation of a new body began, as she danced her finger, weaving in the air. Mimicking a human body, it was soon completed. I shall adopt you and turn you into one of my daughters, she said. As soon as she spoke those words, a strange power of mana danced around her palm, and a Saphira crystal was slowly created. She implanted the entire crystal into Rimuru, turning him into a spirit. We shall meet again when the time comes, she said, with a simple kiss. Just like the voice of the world had done, Rimuru disappeared in particles, encased in his own space. Slowly, Rimuru woke up, with sadness in his eyes.